Everybody, welcome. Let's just do a sound check. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat. I guess my mic's a little low. All right, I think we're okay. I think we're going to start. So welcome everybody. Hope you guys are having a happy holiday so far. I mean, things seems a little hectic. Like I work in freight logistics, and the market is dead. I mean, no one seems to have money for Christmas. Shipments are down. Shipments are being sold for dirt cheap. Truck drivers are going out of business. I was talking to a broker, and the guy's telling me that he's never, in his 20 years of being a freight broker, he's never seen the market this bad. So I think that's telling us something. But I guess this is a good time, you know, to learn to appreciate things that aren't so materialistic, right? Learn to appreciate your family, learn to appreciate the little things you have. And I don't know if things are going to get better or they're going to get worse before they get better, but what are you guys saying about the volume? Volume 2, is that okay? I hope so. All right. Let's start actually with just some current events. Let's look at what's going on in Deutschland. So here we have, if you guys haven't heard, I guess it was some kind of Christmas gathering, and some nut job obviously took his car and drove full speed. Sorry, I didn't turn the volume down on the video. Here you have German police arresting the guy that crashed into full speed, like probably 200 kilometers an hour, 120 miles an hour, or something like this. Smashed right into a group of people. I think he wounded 200 people, killed 5 so far, you know? And of course, he's yelling, Allahu Al Akbar. Now, who's really behind it? You know, like, don't forget the first mosques in Britain were built by bagels, right? By our best friends. So, something to consider when all these Muslims are being poured into our countries. I mean, guys, we have a history going back with these Muslims. They've never been our friends. Since the day Islam started, they've been conquering Christian countries. And whether you're Christian or not, you are Christian to them. This is the Christian West. It will always be the Christian West. And, you know, these guys have... That's it. Their religion is literally built on conquering us. How we let this religion into our countries, into our continents, it's treason. It's treason. Any politician, any priest, anyone who studied religion just the slightest, read the Quran, read the Hadiths, read Islamic law. I mean, you can't have this religion in your land. Period. Period. Right? So, yeah, apparently he was pro-Israel. I was talking to Tarnished about that yesterday. And Syrian Girl, I think that if you guys know who Syrian Girl is, she's a commentator on the Syrian war. She posted up some stuff on her page, kind of proving that this guy was an Israel supporter, even though I'm pretty sure in this video you can hear him screaming Allahu Akbar, it's all that Muslim crap. So anyways, now we've got millions and millions and millions of Muslims in our countries, mosques are built. I mean, I don't know, I have no idea how to get out of this one, like serious forced deportation. I don't know, but again, biblically speaking, this is an act of God. God is the one claiming he is filling our country up with these people. This is kind of like what we get for being degenerate, disobedient little shits. All right, so we're gonna move on. Just thought we'd talk about this, and I mean, we've had lots of attacks like this, right? So just brace yourself for probably more of them. We're gonna go to the Simpsons clip of the week. This is going to tie into the lesson. We're going to be talking about knowing our enemies. It's not going to be so much a Bible lesson. I mean, it's going to all tie together, obviously. So let's play the Simpson clip, and then we'll talk about, we'll get into the lesson.
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down? We do. We do.
Who leaves Atlantis off the maps?
Who keeps the Martians under wraps? We do. We do. Who holds back the electric car? Who makes Steve Gutenberg a star? We do. We do. Who robs Kingfish of their sight?
Who rigged every Oscar night?
We do. We do.
It's too good. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright, so if you guys don't know or aren't familiar with that Simpsons episode, Homer joins a secret organization called the Stone Cutters. I mean, they're just putting it right in our faces. They've been putting stuff in The Simpsons since the beginning, right? And The Simpsons is another one of those shows. You know, I watched it as a little kid. I remember like being like 7, 8 years old. My mom would catch me watching it. My mom would freak. You know, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. I mean, she eventually gave in and I could watch it. But I mean, I remember she didn't like it at first. And I didn't understand why. But The Simpsons is one of those shows where in the early years, the family was hardcore Christian. Everyone's going to church and all that stuff. And that's where they were meeting the public. Because when I was a little kid, everyone went to church. I think my family was the only family that didn't go to church. Everyone went to church. Everyone was still very much traditionally Christian. Divorce rates were low. Life was really, really good. Men weren't douchebag. Girls weren't whores. I mean, there was no violence or anything like that. So now, just so you younger kids, the younger generations understand that, like, when I was a kid, life was a lot more normal. When you saw a police officer, he was your hero, he was your friend, you would wave at police officers. It was normal for a police officer to walk into a restaurant, coffee shop, and never pay. No one would charge the cops. The cops were loved. They were our heroes. It's not like today where the cops are very much like our enemies. They're obviously serving and protecting the biggest corrupt, most degenerate politicians in probably world history. So Homer joins the Stonecutters, and that's the Freemasons. Obviously, whatever Freemasons, they're Stonecutters, and his organization's called the Stonecutters. And if you pay attention to, like, the lyrics in there, they control the British monarchy. They rig the Oscars and all that stuff, right? So we're gonna talk about these guys, right? And again, to sum up Freemasonry, it's Gnosticism. Okay, they're Gnostics. They are the enemies of Christianity. They're the enemies of the God of the Bible, and their job is to disconnect you from your Creator. In disconnecting you from your Creator, that's where their power is going to come from. If we followed the Bible and actually followed God and followed, like, the most basic teachings of Christ, which is treat other people how you want to be treated. Like, if that was our job every day, my job is to make sure my neighbor's okay. His job's to make sure I'm okay. I'm not going to do to him like things I don't want done to me. I'm not going to steal from him, sleep with his wife, stuff like that. We need to return to a higher state of morality, and that comes with having a relationship with God and Christ, right? And again, if we follow Jesus' example, which is what we're really going to talk about here, we wouldn't be tolerating what's going on with our financial system, and that's pretty much what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about, how our enemies work and how we can even potentially stop them. Like, nothing's stopping us from stopping them. Nothing's stopping us. It's ourselves. We are our own worst enemies, right? Any questions in the chat and stuff, I'm going to try to save them for later. So let me think here. I guess we should just kind of get into it. Maybe we're going to start with the verse of the week and stuff. Okay, so we're going to learn about the Bagel Masonic operation of war. How do these guys work, and how do we fight back, right? And it's all about knowing our enemy. And if we don't know who our enemy is, I mean, what chance do you have in fighting a war? All right, so verse of the day, I guess it's verse of the week, right? So if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And this is our problem. We are so divided. We're so divided that there's, like, how do you organize anything when the moment you try to organize something to, fight I don't want to say the establishment, but fight the establishment, you're going to be torn apart by your own people. That was my biggest problem back in Montreal when we were fighting Antifa, all the nationalists, we're all together, and we were atheists, we were Christians, we were a lot of pagans, and yeah, we had our internal fighting, but when, like, a mutual enemy came up like Antifa, we were there for each other. We were kind of united, but at the same time we were our own worst enemy. Like, how do you organize a group? I mean, the pagans just the division that has been sown, and I don't know how you can be a National Socialist and hate Christianity. I don't know how you can support, the good guy side of World War II with hating Christianity when you really know the history, right? World War II was a war against Christianity, period. Period, period, period. It was a holy war. Our enemies were out to destroy Christianity just like they did in Russia, Ukraine. That's what the Soviet Union was doing, right? So let's just go to quote of the day, because that's going to tie into the verse of the day. Well, it's quote of the week, I guess. Okay, we are a people of different religions, but we are one. Which faith conquers the other is not the question. Rather, the question is whether Christianity stands or falls. We tolerate no one in our ranks who attacks the ideas of Christianity. In fact, our movement is Christian. We are filled with a desire for Catholics and Protestants to discover one another in the deep distress of our own people. All right, and that was a quote from Uncle, right? So now I want to talk about this because I'm reading stuff in the group chat and I am seeing Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox, and I guess I'm non-denominational, so I think someone asked me what denomination I am. And ask, okay, I'll talk about maybe that stuff later. I don't agree with the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church or any of the Protestant churches, right? I think in their own ways they're crazy, but I also think you still always need to give credit where it's due. Where would Europe be without the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church? Do you know how much Catholic blood and Orthodox blood was spilt to keep Islam out of Europe or to keep the bagels out of power? So for any Protestant, I don't know too many Protestants that fought the Muslims, that was all the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. And you have to give credit where it's due. So as much as I want to attack the Catholic Church for whatever, or, the Orthodox Church, I also have to appreciate and be thankful for the things that they did for us, right? We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be Christians. I don't even think there'd be a European race had it not been for the Catholics and the Orthodox Christians who sacrificed their lives, right? So while the Protestants are all killing each other and stuff, at least the Catholics and the Orthodox were defending Europe. So my point is, what was done during World War II was uniting people under their nationality and putting that above whether you're a Catholic or a Protestant, because Germany had just gone through, maybe a couple hundred years before, the 30 Years' War, where half the German population, 50% of the German population was killed because of Catholic Protestant nonsense. Right? I mean, if you're both claiming to be Christians and you're supposed to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, why are you massacring each other? Do you know what I mean? Did Jesus' teachings just fly over your head? Right? And don't let the pagans, attack, Christians, all this disunity and Christians divided Europe and stuff. Like, pagan Europe was 1,000 times worse than Christian Europe, all right? I mean, the pagans never stopped killing each other, not for a moment. Greek infighting, the Greeks were terrible. The Greeks were professionals at killing each other, okay? The Romans constantly going into civil war with Rome, with themselves and stuff. So I mean, the German pagans fighting the Roman pagans, the Gauls, the Britons, and the Scythians, whatever. You can go through them all, and it's just it's a total S show. So that's something I just want to talk to you guys about, to really stop attacking each other. If you're Catholic, Protestant, or Orthodox, I'm none of them, and if you notice, you're all welcome in my group. You're all welcome to ask me any questions, and you're all welcome to disagree with me on certain stuff, but as long as we do it in a reasonable way and we agree on the bigger Christian picture, right? So this is all going to kind of tie into what we're talking about and learning how to put our petty differences aside, learning that there's a bigger threat, and if we don't get our shit together, I mean, I don't know, things aren't going to get any better. All right, so our first steps is understanding that we are at war, okay? Just because our enemies haven't officially declared war on us, like, well, I guess they have if you read their religions. If you understand Freemasonry, if you understand the Talmud, Kabbalah, Islam, our enemies declared war on us a long time ago. We're just stupid, we're asleep, and we don't realize that there's a war on us. That's all. That's what it comes down to. And it doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. I mean, you are the Christian West. And the West is the and I mean, we have to take some stuff into consideration too. I mean, we've blown up the Middle East. We're funding the war in Ukraine. I mean, we destroyed Libya, Syria. We caused revolutions in Egypt, Iran. We killed Saddam, blew up Iraq, destroyed prosperous countries. And we did it all for our greatest ally, who we have no alliance with. We don't have a written alliance with our greatest ally. That alliance doesn't exist. They just keep saying it over and over again to the point where everyone now believes it. So we have no ally with these people, which is why they could destroy stuff like the USS Liberty. They can attack us all they want. We have no alliance with these people. And what they've done is, through proxy wars, they've gotten us to kill all their enemies. We paid for it. We didn't just pay for it. We borrowed money from bagel bankers. And,
You call these bagels?
we borrowed money from them.
Whoa!
And then we went and killed their enemies. And now we have to pay back the money we borrowed from them to kill their enemies for them. And now we're going to, not just us, our children, our grandchildren, we're all going to pay this back at compounded interest, which is what we're going to talk about. All right, so this is the first step, is to recognize that and understand that we are at war. And the next thing we have to do is we have to stop blaming the bagels. The first people we have to blame are ourselves. That's it. That's who the problem is. And if you can't do that, you have no hope. You have no hope to go, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have been wasting my life playing video games and just, focusing on myself and just, putting me first. And guys, this is the only order it works in. It goes God, country, then family. The moment you change that order, everything will fall apart. By following God, you're going to naturally become a good person. You're not going to be such a degenerate. You're not going to cheat on your wife. You're going to work. You're going to support your family. You're not going to be a drunk or a drug addict or anything like this. You're going to put God first. And then you have to put your country second, because without a country, you have no hope to raise your family, right? And this was like my problem, back when I was still in Montreal, part of the nationalist group, and fighting. My girlfriend at the time, I had a, very nice girlfriend, beautiful girlfriend. She made 6 figures a year. I could have, she offered me a job making 6 figures a year. And she was in a position to do that. And I was like, look, she just wanted us to get married, work, and mind our own business. And I'm trying to explain to her, if we don't have a country, we can't have a family. Like in Canada right now, if your teacher tells your child that your son, that he's a girl, and your son goes home and says, "Mommy, Daddy, my teacher says I'm a girl, I want to go on hormones and all this crap," and you say no, and the kid goes to school the next day, reports you to the teacher can then charge you, call child services, and have your child removed for child abuse, because the liberal schools brainwash your children into thinking they're transgender. You denied them the right to be transgender, and now the government can take your children away. I don't want to live in a country where the government can do that. So for me, I put politics and fighting first, to the point where it destroyed my relationship, you know? So, just, and that was a choice I made, right? And believe me, in the last 6 years, I've really regretted it a lot, right? But it is what it is, and I still stand by what I did. I don't think I did the wrong thing, but I mean, it's been a really hard journey, and but that's the order it has to go in. It has to go in God in the sense of morals, values, discipline, and then it comes down to your country, which is your extended family, right? And then it comes down to your individual family, right? So if it doesn't go in that order, if you think you're going to put your family before your country, well, that's what all the politicians in power are doing right now. The reason why our countries are so messed up, the reason the corruption is so rampant is because these politicians are putting themselves first and their families first. Believe me, most crimes committed are done in the name of family. I did it for my children, or I had to pay the mortgage, or I wanted to, most crimes that are committed are done in the name of family, done in the name of my children. And it's like Walter White from Breaking Bad. All throughout the series, he's saying everything I did. He's cooking meth and, killing people, and he's a total psychopath. And he's always saying everything I did for the family. I did for the family. I did for the family. Then at the very end, the very last episode, he repeats that line again, but he says everything I did for me. And that's the truth, right? So stop. These people hide behind their families and their mortgages and their bills to do criminal things. So anyways, it has to go God, country, then family. Otherwise, everything will go to hell. So stop blaming the bagels, start blaming yourself, okay? I blame myself before I blame the bagels, okay? So that's what it is. Take accountability and responsibility. And, and all of this is really, I put God first. If we don't come to God, I don't think we can get out of this. I think we're completely foobarred. It's only God can really save us from ourselves at this point, right? Which is like, we're like the Israelites in Egypt, or we're like the Romans during the siege of Jerusalem. The odds are not in our favor, and we need a miracle, and that can only happen by returning to God. Okay, so we have to recognize what is our situation. Okay, so we're going to kind of look at things from like a military perspective, identify and establish what is the situation. That's the first thing we have to do. Okay, so we have to know what is our goal, what is our mission, A to Z. So we have to have a plan, we have to be organized. I'm not saying, I've organized some stuff and everything, but this is just for people in the future, how you need to kind of strategize, how you have to plan. Okay, so what is the situation? What is your goal? Or your mission? Okay, what is our plan of execution? How are we going to how do we get to this goal to fix the situation? This is the situation. This is our goal. Here are the steps necessary to accomplish the mission to fix the situation. All right. What resources do we have? So now we have to outline, logistics. We have to outline, what do we have, service and support, stuff like this, right? So, and then who do we have, right? Like, what kind of people are we working with? Who do we have within our ranks? I'm not starting like a cult or a movement or anything. I'm just telling you this is how, if you were to kind of think militarily, how you kind of have to plan. Okay, and understand that this very much is Christians versus the Bagels, the Masons. Now, the Bagels, the Masons are Gnostics, and I'm not going to get into a whole Gnostic argument tonight, but if you really want to know who your enemies are, what they believe, you have to study Gnosticism. All right, so let's talk about the art of war. And the reason I want to talk about this is because our enemies are very well versed in this book. And if you guys know who Yuri Bezmenov is, so he's a KGB defector. He left the KGB. I think he fled to India, and then from India he fled to America. And he pretty much came to the West to warn the West that we've been completely infiltrated by by communists, and we were a long time ago. It's just that now by, Yuri Bezmenov, he was killed. I'm pretty sure he was poisoned. He did warn us, though. You can look up his videos. Very smart man. And he will tell you that our enemies are masters at the art of war. And so we kind of need to know. It's an excellent book. I mean, if you haven't read The Art of War, I highly recommend this book. So we have to look at where we're strong and where they're weak, and where we're weak and where they're strong. Okay? And if you look at the numbers, okay, this is realistically what the battlefield looks like. All right? Who has the advantage, really? We do. And remember that the only power they have is the power God gives them. Okay? When you're a monotheist, like I'm a monotheistic Christian. And what that means is I just believe God is in full control. I'm not blaming Lucifer or fallen angels or any of this crap. I believe, like the Bible says, that God raises up Satans, God raises up adversaries, God raises up Nebuchadnezzar, God raised up, to destroy Judah, God rose up the Assyrians to destroy Israel, God rose up the Romans to destroy the Bagels in 70 AD, etc. God is the one sending wrath and destruction into your country when you become a disobedient little shit. So understand that this is what the battlefield looks like in reality. This is just in the United States. In Europe, it would probably be way more on our side. So we're looking at 23-1. So our enemies aren't going to fight toe to toe. They can't fight this war. They're not going to fight like this. Okay, so they have to change their tactics. They're not going to be able to fight toe to toe, man to man, and that's very important because we're going to talk about there's really two styles of warfare. I mean, overall, and that is you're either going to fight with your strength and your logic like a man. That's how men fight, and this is not okay. Women, I'm going to apologize. Apparently, some people have brought it up that I sound like I'm very anti-woman. I'm not anti-woman at all. I hope that the men and the women in the chat and stuff can learn to get along. Guys, tone it down with the girls. Be more welcoming. Be more understanding. We're divided on all fronts. We're divided on race. We're divided on religion. We're divided on gender. We need to learn to work together or things aren't going to work. But for this argument, I'm sorry, women, I have to explain how women fight war. And when you're outnumbered, you cannot fight war like a man. You cannot fight toe to toe. You cannot use your strength and your logic to defeat your enemy. You're going to have to work. This just isn't going to work. Okay? You're outnumbered 23-1 in the United States. So how are you going to fight? How are you going to change the way that you do things? Well, because if they do it, they're just gonna get the shit kicked out of them, right? Sorry, I shouldn't be swearing. They're just gonna get killed. So they're going to change their tactic. They're not going to fight like a man. They're going to fight like a woman, and you are gonna be completely disarmed. They're gonna appear to be weak. They're gonna be very charming. They're gonna use deception. They're not going to fight like a man. Don't expect our enemy to fight like a man because they can't. They'll get killed. They'll get destroyed in a second, right? So, and we're going to talk a little bit about the book of Revelation. Actually, we're going to draw a parallel from this, okay? So how do women fight war? Generally, they're not going to fight you toe to toe. They're going to use gossip. They're going to whisper something in this man's ear to get that man to kill that man for them. They're going to lie here. They're going to spread deception. They're going to put poison in cup. They're going to poison you. They're going to have different tricks because a woman can't fight a man toe to toe. It's just not, the odds are not in their favor. And that's how our enemy's fighting. They're fighting like a woman. Okay. They have to resort to these tactics. Because man on man, we'll just wipe the floor with them, right? So I think this is the former Mossad motto. I don't think they use this anymore. But by way of deception, thou shalt make war. Now they say this is from the Bible. I don't think it's from the Bible. But so they're going to fight through deception. And all warfare, as we read from The Art of War, all warfare is based on deception. Hence, when we are able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must appear inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe that we are near. So everything is about making your enemy think the opposite of what's really going to happen. If you don't know the battle, if you don't understand warfare, you don't belong on the battlefield. You can't fight a war if you don't know what's going on. So it's a very simple principle, okay, that all warfare is based on deception. And women are the best, in my opinion, at deception, right? And it's not a slight at women, it's just a fact of nature, right? They have to be. It's for survival if the situation calls for it. All right. So the rule for use of military is that if you outnumber the opponent 10-1, then surround them. 5-1, attack them. 2-1, divide them. If you are equal, then fight if you are able. If you are fewer, this is our enemy, keep away if you are able. If you are not as good, then flee if you are able. Our enemy is completely outnumbered. Okay, and that's actually, I think, what frightens them so much and why the censorship is so bad. They can't let their lies be exposed. If their lies are exposed and people know the truth, they're all dead. They're all dead. They will not be able to control the revolts that will happen around the world. It's already starting. We talked about this in another stream when was it? It was like 2 weeks ago. That guy killed that health insurance CEO. What did we see when this health insurance CEO was gunned down? Well, he was denying people all their health insurance. People were paying high premiums, paying their health insurance, and then when it came time for the health insurance companies to help and to pay for the medical, the medical bills and stuff, they were denied. And chances are, I bet you $1 million, that a lot of these people had problems and side effects from the vaccination. So again, poison, right? They're going to fight like a woman, poison you, okay? And a lot of us now have been poisoned through vaccinations and stuff like that. So they're going to fight. They have to keep in mind that they are fewer in numbers. But what we noticed from that assassination, that murder, was the people were cheering for the murderer, okay? The people were actually cheering for the murderer. If you read the comment section, it was rather, I don't want to say it's amazing, but I mean, it's amazing that that someone like this, and if you're a politician, I'm sure the politicians are scared shitless right now. I know that in Canada, a lot of the police resources are going to protect the politicians. The politicians this time, this is like the first time in Canadian U.S. history where our politicians need this much, protection. Our prime minister has literally like an army of federal agents. Never before in our history did the prime minister require so much protection. So that's what's happening. I'm going to draw a parallel later when we get to the end to what happened. This happened in ancient Rome, right? Soon it's not going to be worth it for the cops to defend these people. And you can see that with this healthcare insurer guy who denied all these people their insurance claims while giving himself $1 million bonuses and paying themselves very well. And now he's dead. He's dead. He can't spend any of that money he stole. All that money he profited off poisoning people. If you're dead, you can't enjoy all the money you've stolen from the people you've made through ill-gotten gains, through murder, through war, whatever. And eventually the people are going to be so out of control, you're going to regret the day you were a politician. You're going to regret the day you were a judge. You're going to regret the day you were a lawyer passing these bills, because you're going to be dragged into the street. God is going to unleash the people one day on these politicians, if not a foreign army. You're just not going to want to be these people. And you see that with that CEO murder, where this insurer guy got murdered, and the people are cheering for the murderer. You know, that was unheard of when I was a little kid. So times have definitely changed. All right, let's keep going. So there are 5 ways of knowing who will win. Those who know when to fight and when not to fight are victorious. So it's very important to know to pick your battles and to pick your enemies wisely. Okay. Those who discern when to use many or few troops are victorious. Okay, so obviously you don't want to just throw all your soldiers into a battle and leave no reserves. You've got to obviously plan. You have to strategize. You have to know where to attack, where to defend, how to divide your forces, when to bring your forces together. All this kind of stuff. Those who have the upper and lower ranks have the same desire are victorious. This couldn't be more true. Excuse me, sorry guys, I was sick. When the lower soldiers and the generals have the same mission, the same goal, you hired mercenaries, and these guys' goal isn't to defeat the enemy. Their goal is they just want the gold, and victory is not so important for them as much as it is staying alive so they can live to spend the gold that they just made, because they don't really care. They're mercenaries, they're not fighting for their country or something. So it's important that the lower soldiers and the upper soldiers have the same goal, that the whole machine is working for the same purpose, right? He who prepares himself waits to take the enemy unprepared. And this is probably, I don't want to say it's my problem, but yeah, it's knowing when to strike. Okay, so it's not just, you kind of have to have everything aligned. And it's about not just picking your enemies, knowing your enemies, patience. Being able to be patient, like something Winston Churchill did. He's a total psychopath, but I think it was the bombing of Coventry. Yeah, I forgot. I think maybe it was the bombing of London. Anyways, the point is, the English had decoded the German enigma, the German code machine, and the Germans the British government now had knowledge that there was a bombing that was going to happen. And they chose to let the city get bombed, because if they evacuated the city before the bombing happened, the Germans probably would have known that their code machine was broken, and the British wouldn't be able to they didn't change everything, and then the British wouldn't be able to read everything that the Germans were doing. So the British were willing to sacrifice a city just to not let the Germans know that they could read all their coded messages, right? So yeah, it's about, you have to know when to be patient, and wait for your enemy, and wait for them to make a move and catch them unprepared. We're going to talk about that at the end. We're going to talk about the Punic Wars a little bit. Those whose generals are able and are not constrained by their governments are victorious. Okay, so these 5 are the ways to know who will win. So we talked about this before. I gave an example where it was Julius Caesar versus Pompey, and Caesar was now an outlaw. Caesar was now Caesar's legions were now at war with the Republic. Okay, so Caesar was coming in to clean house because the Republic had just completely fallen into corruption. And if Caesar came back without his army, they would have surely killed him. So anyways, in this battle, the reason why Caesar was victorious, we're talking about the Battle of Pharsalus, the last great battle between Caesar and Pompey. The only reason Caesar won was because the Roman government, the senators, had voted and told Pompey, you must attack Caesar now. Pompey protested and said, look, if we just wait a few more days, Caesar's going to have to change positions and we can kill him. It's not a problem. We just need to wait a few more days and we'll win. The Roman Senate said, no, we don't care what you say. Undefeated general Pompey the Great, the Roman general who conquered Jerusalem, one of the greatest generals in history. Senate, government steps in, says, we don't care, you're going to listen to us, and you're going to attack Caesar right now. And Caesar destroyed him, annihilated him. And Pompey fled to Egypt, where he had his head cut off, and that's how Pompey ended his life. And Caesar was now master of the Mediterranean. So that was done because the government interfered. They didn't trust their smartest and most powerful general. These stupid senators thought they knew more than their most powerful general and didn't follow the art of war, and they lost their republic. Okay? So it is said that if you know others and know yourself, you will not be in peril in 100 battles. If you do not know others but know yourself, you win one and lose one. So you'll win 50% of the time. So pretty much, if you know yourself, you know your opponent, you're guaranteed victory, because you're going to know, I could fight him and win. You know what? I can't fight him and win. I'm going to step back. That's a victory. Knowing that I can't actually win this battle. I know my enemy's stronger than me, and I know that I can't do it. That's a victory. You know, there's no shame in defeat if the soul lives on to fight another day. Not knowing your enemy, like only knowing one side, it's a gamble. Okay, you might win, you might not. But if you do not know others and do not know yourself, you will be in peril in every single battle. So not knowing them, not knowing yourself, oh man, not a good idea. All right, so I think this might be the last one. And this is what's happened to us, right? In the practical art of war, the best thing of all is to take the enemy's country whole and intact. To shatter and destroy it is not so good. And that's what's happened to us through deception, through infiltration. Our countries have been taken over, and we've now just been monkeys going around fighting wars for our people who want to kill us, fighting wars for our enemies, right? So yeah, I really apologize, guys. I was really sick last week. I'm still not 100%. So yeah, like right now, I don't know if you guys are watching YouTube and stuff. Like I watch like a lot of like military shows, and like I quit the army. I quit Army Cadets back when I was 19. I aged out, and I was supposed to join the Reg Force. All my buddies joined the Reg Force. I refused to join because I looked at Afghanistan like it was an inside job, right? I believed my government and, you know, was responsible for the towers, and I wasn't willing to go. You know, I tried to convince my friends, like, we shouldn't be going to Afghanistan. Our real enemies are in Parliament. They're in the Senate. They're in Washington. They're in Ottawa. They're not here. They're not there. Right? And this cost me a lot of all my army friendships, cost me any career I hope to have in the army and stuff. And because that's what's happened to our country, we have literally been taken over whole, like the Art of War says. Like, our enemies have studied this book, they live by this book, and they understood that to take our country through infiltration and then to, you know, send us to fight in wars that make no sense to us as cannon fodder, but then make a business off of us. They get us to borrow money from them, from their corrupt banks, and then we take the borrowed money, buy weapons and all this crap, go kill all their enemies, and then we come back all destroyed, mangled, you know, completely demoralized, and now we're slaves to pay back the money we borrowed from these people to go kill their enemies. We're mentally retarded, right? So that's what's happened to us. To take the country whole and intact is better. So too is it better to recapture an army entire than to destroy it, to capture a regiment, a detachment or a company entire than to destroy them. So this is better. Hence, to fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. This is what's happened in our country. They destroyed us from within like a bunch of parasites and cancers. They changed the culture from within over time, slowly, piece by piece. I mean, you could see it now in retrospect. If you go back in time and start watching TV shows, start in the 50s and move your way to the 60s and move your way to the 70s and move your way to the 80s. There's a great content creator named Devin Stack, Blackpilled. He does a lot of this kind of analysis. And when you go through like all, because Hollywood is obviously a propaganda unit, it's military, it's CIA, it's not, you know, the best way to control the people is through entertainment. You know what, we're going to talk about that later at the end. Okay, so knowing your enemy. Now, it's important, like we talked about, they fight like women. They have to use deception. They're weaker. They can't fight us toe to toe. So when we come to the book of Revelation, when we come to the Bible, it's very important that the villain in the book of Revelation is a character called the Whore of Babylon. Because it's a woman who works off seduction, luring men, getting the beast. So in the story, it's a woman riding a beast. And the beast is devouring and killing and doing whatever she wants, right? This is symbolic of the Roman Empire. And the Whore of Babylon is Jerusalem. It's the bagels, right?
You call these bagels?
And so when you go through the book of Revelation, I mean, we're not gonna, I'll go through this in another video again. It talks about that, the seven heads, like where the woman sits, where the woman, the Whore of Babylon, rules from, deceiving the nations, bribing, charming, poisoning, all this stuff, fighting proxy wars, getting other people to fight her wars for her, getting, telling Peter that Paul raped me when, nothing she's saying is true, right? But now the two men are, one man's been framed and the other man's going to go and kill this other guy, and it's all because he trusted the words of this woman. And women, I'm not saying all women are like this, I'm just saying this is how women fight wars, okay? So, the seven heads, people like to blame the Roman Catholic Church because the Roman Catholic Church sits on 7 hills. This is Rome, blah, blah, blah. But Jerusalem also sits on 7 hills. So when you're reading the book of Revelation, almost every Protestant denomination is destroyed with this one verse. The Protestants teach that the Whore of Babylon is the Roman Catholic Church. It's the Roman Empire, blah, 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 blah. Rome revived. It's all a crock of gefilte fish.
You call these bagels?
So don't fall for that. The book of Revelation is very clear that the great city is where also our Lord was crucified. The great city is Jerusalem, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city. So the whore of Babylon is the great city that reigns over all the kings of the earth. No different than today. Jerusalem is the city that rules over all the kings of the earth. It's the great city where the Lord was crucified. So just wanted to draw that parallel. It's a woman. They fight like women. They have no choice. They're outnumbered. They don't have the numbers. They're not as strong as us. If they were to go toe-to-toe with the United States, wiped out tomorrow. All right? So, again, know your enemies. Bagels and the Masons. So they're going to fight us with our legal system. They're going to start using our own stuff against us. Right now, you can't really use the legal system at all. The legal system is there to destroy us, to steal as much money from us as possible, to throw us in jail. You cannot defend yourself in court. If you say the wrong thing, if you don't know how to speak to the judge, you're done. You're guilty. You don't even know how to submit evidence properly. You need to hire a lawyer because you can't even speak legalese, right? It's not like Viking law or common law back in the day where you could just get up and speak. It wasn't too much of a problem. Today, if you don't have a lawyer, and understand these lawyers are all on the same team. Lawyers are all part of the law society. They all hail to the bar. If you know, like, how lawyers work, like, if you're getting divorced, which divorce is big business, then these two lawyers, their goal is to keep the divorce proceedings going as long as possible, right? I remember there was a couple that I knew. They worked at a market. I remember they're going through a divorce, and at this point, they had each spent $30,000, so $60,000 in lawyer fees, and they weren't even close to finishing the divorce. And they were too stupid to see that these lawyers were keeping the divorce proceedings going, because the longer it's going, the more money they're making, right? So they're not interested in solving this quickly, because they're on the same team. They're both part of the law society. They're on the same team. They're, you know, and because these people were so childish, they couldn't resolve their problems amongst themselves. They couldn't sit down and say, okay, we don't get along anymore, blah, 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 blah. I think they were swingers or something. I think we're just degenerates. I think they ended up spending like close to $100,000 getting divorced. That was their children's inheritance that went to these lawyers, right? So like the law society is not your friend. They're on the same team against you. Okay, the courts are not our friends right now. They're not there to administer justice. They're they're a business, right? So healthcare, just like we saw with the CEO being murdered, what we see in Canada right now, if you have free healthcare, which is not free at all, that's some really good marketing. We actually have overpaid healthcare in Canada. They just rape us through taxes, and through a good marketing campaign, label it as free healthcare. It's anything but free. And like I remember I just needed like antibiotics. I got bit by a tick, and just to make sure that the tick wasn't poisonous, I ran to the emergency room, and I know that if I get certain pills right away, then I won't get Lyme disease or whatever. And I had like a 12-hour, 14-hour wait just to get a prescription. I mean, they could have just put like one doctor in the triage just to give out prescriptions, and 80% of the people in the emergency room would have been gone just by putting one doctor who can look at you and go, "Oh, you just need a prescription." You don't have to sit here, wait 12 hours to go into a room to talk to a doctor who's just going to give you a prescription. Just put one doctor in the triage, let him look at you. Oh, dude, you just need pain meds. You just need antibiotics. You just need, ear drops. Here, go. Boom, done. 80-90% of the people in the emergency room would be gone. And the people who actually need the emergency room can now be dealt with. We're just mentally retarded. We can't think of something that simple to free up space in the hospitals. It's just all the people who have power shouldn't be in power. And that's it. And God is the one who chooses who's in power, right? So they're going to fight us through vaccines, like we're going through all this COVID stuff with the vaccines. We're now starting to see, giant rises in everything. So, I mean, that's a crazy story. Food and water. I mean, have you ever gone to the grocery store and tried to read what the hell's in our food? I can't even pronounce 90% of the crap in this stuff, So you got to try to eat as natural as possible and stay away from all that processed stuff. If you don't understand those chemicals on the package, you probably shouldn't be eating that stuff. And a lot of this stuff too is laced with synthetic estrogens and stuff. So if you're wondering why men are becoming more flamboyant and more feminine, I mean, our plastics and all kinds of foods and stuff, they're just pumping it full of hormones and a lot of synthetic estrogens. Because these people just love us, oy vey.
You call these bagels? Whoa!
Anyways. All right. Finance, and we're going to talk about this. This is actually probably going to be the main topic of tonight. Education, we're all mentally retarded at this point. I mean, if anyone actually believes what we're taught in school, I mean, you pretty much have to turn around, just like the food pyramid, You know, where they tell you to eat sugars and grains and carbs and breads and cereals and stuff. This should be the staple of your diet, and then that's when everybody like became fat. Eat margarine, eat vegetable oil, stay away from meats, stay away from healthy fats. Fat is bad, low fat, low fat, low fat. Cholesterol's bad. Like, you have to literally do the opposite. If they tell you to go left, you better go right. Do you guys know that riddle? That riddle, how does it go? I might butcher it. But there's two paths, and one path leads to paradise and the other path leads to eternal hell. And there's angels guarding up each door, and you have to choose a door. And you can only ask one question to one of the guards, the angels or whatever is guarding this. And so you got one question you can ask, and that one question has to give you the answer of which door you can choose. So I'm going to give you guys like 10 seconds. I'll be honest, I couldn't figure it out. I had to cheat. So if you guys can't get it, don't feel stupid. I couldn't figure it out. You got one question you could ask to either one of the guards. You know one guard is only going to lie to you, and you know one guard is only going to tell you the truth. Okay? But you don't know which one's going to tell you the truth, and you don't know which one's going to lie. So, what's the one question you can ask? 10 seconds. I think Anonymous actually gave the answer. So the way to know the truth is you go up to any one of the guys, any one of the guards, the angels, whatever, and you say, hey, what direction, what door is the other guy going to tell me is paradise? And then you have to do the opposite of whatever that guy says. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So if you ask the guy who's going to lie, he's only going to lie to you, and you ask him, hey, what direction is that the guy on the other side, the honest guy, what door is he going to tell me is the way to paradise? And whatever answer he gives you, you just do the opposite, and that's actually the way to go. And that's what I feel like that riddle is. How I feel like the world we're living in is, if the media tells you this, chances are you have to do the opposite, right? Chances are it's a lie. If the history books told you this guy was a bad guy, chances are that's a lie, right? And you have to do the opposite, right? If you want to get to paradise, right? So that's just kind of how I feel things are. So education, I mean, you can pretty much throw out almost everything we've learned in almost any field, pretty much. Immigration, they're just smashing us with immigration. Right? They've completely changed the culture. They've completely changed. I mean, the culture was already destroyed. I think because our culture was already destroyed is why God sent all these immigrants into our country. Because maybe now we're going to appreciate the culture that we had. I mean, everyone in Canada, all these women, I shouldn't say just women, all these people want to be Buddhists and Hindus, and look at how great this. It's like have you seen the Buddhist and Hindu countries? Do you want to see? Ye shall know them by the fruits of their labors. Do you really want to go? If you want to go live in a Buddhist country, go. You won't like it. You want to go live in an Islamic country? Go. You won't like it. Oh, you like communism? You like communism. Go. They won't go. Right? The one culture that brought us all this prosperity is the one culture they want to destroy. And the culture that brought us this prosperity is the reason why all these other cultures want to come and jump on our ship, right? So we've just completely destroyed the culture that brought us all this prosperity. Christianity's bad, Jesus, forget the Bible, forget all this stuff. And I get it. The churches are corrupt. Religion's a total mess. I'm not defending the churches or anything. I blame the churches causing the great fall away. The reason why we all fell away from God, right? I don't think modern Christianity has any place in the future of the world. I think modern Christianity is Zionist Christianity is just a total mess. So immigration and Deuteronomy 28. If you want to read about God punishing us with immigration, that's in Deuteronomy 28. They're going to fight us through energy. I mean, this whole war with Russia and Ukraine, like when I was living on the border there, The energy bills went up by like, what was it, 500% when the war started. They've shut down all the power plants in Germany. Germany's a complete mess. This Greta Thunberg girl went around all the white Christian countries telling us to shut down our power. But she didn't bother to go to like the real polluting countries like India and China and places like this where she'd just be, I don't know what they would do to her. Greta Thunberg specifically went to the white Christian countries, got us all to shut down our power bills skyrocketed. I mean, it's just a total, like, guys, energy should not cost what it costs. It should cost pennies. Okay? In the modern world, the technologies we have, energy should be nothing. Okay? All right. Censorship. So this is like a big one. So like me, I'm completely censored and banned, and I mean, they let me on YouTube right now. I'm shadow banned though. My subscribers can't go up. My first channel, I was getting like 300 to 400 subs a day. My videos were getting 10,000 views, like in less than a week. And I was just growing exponentially, and then they just completely showed me.
You call these bagels?
And that's just it, all the best YouTubers, content creators, they're all censored and banned. If you're, got millions of subs on YouTube, hundreds of thousands of subs on YouTube, and I mean, you're, okay, maybe you're like building wood furniture or something, and that's cool. I'm not judging those guys. But if you're saying anything against the establishment, if you're saying anything against
you call these bagels?
Our best friends, then I mean you're gonna get censored. They're gonna take your PayPal away. Like, man, I went through hell, right? So if you've gone through the ringer, right, you'll know censorship is a big problem. But I was gonna talk more about this, but maybe we'll save that for another video. Just because, like, oh man, it's like certain things have been, like, the cat's out of the bag for a lot of topics, and once the lie expands so much, then you're gonna get like your Joe Rogans, your Jordan Peterson, your Ben Shapiro's, and these guys. You're gonna get these guys. Now they're gonna start talking about or Tucker Carlson, right? You're gonna get, oh, Tucker Carlson, and now you can trust them. He mentioned this. Well, yeah, you know why he mentioned it? Because they're monitoring what we're talking about on the internet, and they know that, oh, well, 60% of the people are already talking about this, so we might as well get our controlled distribution agent, the guy we have in place, get him to talk about that. Because the people of this, that lie is not containable anymore. It's out. Get our guys talking about it, and then people think, oh, well, Tucker Carlson, he's the real deal. Oh, Joe Rogan, you gotta trust him. Donald Trump, gotta vote for Trump. All right. Propaganda, yeah, I mean, it kind of explains itself, right? Like, we talked about this, like, by way of deception, we shall make war. If you don't know what's going on, if they have you believing something that isn't true, I mean, it's just, propaganda is key. Propaganda could be good too. I mean, propaganda back in Germany was excellent. They had a great propaganda department, spreading good, healthy propaganda, encouraging women to be women, to have children, encouraging men to be good men and hard workers. I mean, propaganda isn't necessarily bad. You can create good propaganda to make the citizens behave well. And so don't just think propaganda is an all negative. Propaganda is a tool that can go left or right or forward. All right, proxy warfare, we talked about that already. So, I mean, these guys don't really fight their wars themselves. They just, I mean, what happened when the Assad government fell in Syria? What was the first image I saw was Israeli tanks coming right into Syria. I mean, the Israeli army was sitting in the background, getting Shiites and Sunnis to kill each other, getting Syrians to kill each other, bringing foreign Muslim mercenaries in to kill each other. It's just this Muslim bloodbath. Why go to war and waste your soldiers when you could just get your enemies to kill each other? Right? So, why can't I? Hang on 1 second. There it goes. All right, so now we're going to talk about the bagel banking system, and we're actually going to watch a video. It's between 6 and 9 minutes. I forgot which one. So I hope you guys are okay with that. We're going to watch a little presentation on the banking system. If you guys don't know how the banking system works, we're going to watch this. It's going to explain everything. And all right, so I'm just gonna play it, and then we're gonna kind of talk about it. We're gonna and give us like some solutions to show us, like, guys, the situation's not that hopeless. I mean, we just can't work together. So let's take a look at this clip. All right.
Where do I think it comes from? Like it's made? I don't know, the government?
Money comes from paper.
I believe it comes from trees. In the long run, I think it comes from trees. No, I believe money. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not certain.
That's a trick question. Why?
Well, that's actually an interesting question. First of all, money is prior to money. It's going to sound like a long answer, but I'm not quite sure I know the nature of your question. But let me see how I can handle it.
This is the Prime Minister of Canada.
Prior to money, essentially trade.
He can't tell you where money comes from.
It's actually simple. Over 95% of our money is created by private banks. That means there's less than 5% of government-created money. Let's look at the differences between creating the money ourselves and borrowing it from private banks. Creating the money ourselves pretty much just costs the labor to print it and the hard work to back it up, while borrowing money from private banks can cost up to 10 times or more than the principal before it's paid. This is Canada's federal debt. From 1867 to 1992, we owed $423 billion. However, 91% of this debt is the result of interest on interest, and only 8% of the money was actually used on real things, like goods and services. But now we have to pay back over 10 times what we needed, simply because we borrowed from private banks instead of ourselves. So isn't it a little bit fraudulent, though, if I were to walk into a bank and they give me a receipt, I can redeem at any time, but it's only noticed that it would be called fraud if everyone came to the bank and requested their money?
Oh, I'm going to answer your question, but then I want to go back to mine.
Okay.
Because it really is. This is the huge change of the last 5 years. It's not fraudulent. It's not fraudulent because everybody understands it. But it is.
No one really understands it.
Well, okay. I mean, those who know about it, knew about it, so it was not fraudulent.
I've talked to the teachers and MPs, even MPPs, and they had no idea that there was only $4 billion in the vaults, but over $1 trillion was lent out.
No, just let me go back. Well, the fact that they didn't know it, they should have.
But really, no one does.
Well,
should that be involved a little bit more before we start using money? That we should be told where it is, where it comes from?
Well, no.
Okay, so it's one thing to lend out money you just don't have. But how can you charge interest on nothing? And not just any kind of interest.
Compounded interest.
Here's a fun way to explain the difference between regular interest and compounded interest. Imagine lending someone $1 at the time Christ was born, at let's say 6% interest. Ready? Go!
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven.
Jesus Christ is right. This is especially scary when you consider that all credit cards, loans, and mortgages are all to be paid back with compounded interest. By the way, if you translate the word mortgage to its original language, French, it literally means death pledge, because people will often work their whole lives to pay off their home by the time the banks have made all their money. Interestingly enough, the French Canadians use a different word for mortgage called hypothèque, probably because no one in their right mind would sign up for something called a death pledge. Could you imagine? So coming back to our analogy on compounded interest, you can probably see why Jesus threw the bankers out of the temple in the New Testament. And look what ended up happening to him. It's interesting how the operation of banks in Canada are all textbook examples of fraud, counterfeit, and theft.
There was no fraud. People should have known. But there really is a problem. And that is that the people who knew didn't stop it.
People who knew didn't stop it.
Now, if I did what these private banks do on a daily basis, I would end up here. Here. Or maybe here. So how come the banks can break the law, but no one else can? Well, it's technically not breaking the law when our elected officials create bogus legislation like what's contained in the Bank Act. It says that banks can lend out as much money as they want without having to have a single dollar. That's right. According to Statistics Canada, both federal and provincial debt combined, we're paying $160 million each and every day, or $60 billion every year. Let's put all this into perspective. The largest counterfeiters in Canada produced $3.5 million and were sentenced to 5 years in prison. The largest bank robberies in Canada, committed by the Stopwatch Gang, stole about $15 million and got 16 years in prison. As a result of borrowing from private banks, $160 million goes missing every day, and no one even gets fired.
So what you're saying is pretty much the banks that are in Canada that are chartered by Parliament and all that, by Parliament, are pretty much just robbing the Canadian government and in turn the Canadian citizens because they're causing us to have a higher tax rate than required. You know, just to dig into their pockets and get themselves a little bit richer.
So what could you do with $160 million every day? I got an idea. How about as an incentive?
All right. All right. So now I'll give you guys a hint. There's an Easter egg in there. If you watch the guy putting the coaster underneath the Prime Minister of Canada's cup. Anyways, so that was the Prime Minister of Canada during the 90s. And I mean, right there, flat out. This is a video that's actually showing treason. This is high treason being committed by the government of Canada on video. You could watch it. They're full traitors, full blown. They should be sent to the, well, I'm not going to say it. Video footage committing treason. No, the people shouldn't be aware of the banking system. Oh, those who knew about it, knew about it. But there really is a problem that those who knew about it didn't, try to stop it. Well, yeah, that was your job, doofus. You were the Prime Minister. You didn't try to warn the Canadian people that you're stealing this kind of money. And it's just going to the banks, right? It's just going to the bagel banking system. And then they take this money that they didn't do anything for. They didn't add anything to the economy. They didn't add resources or goods or services. This is slavery. Don't let these people ever be like, oh, slavery was bad. You are the master slavers. We are more slaves today, I think, than any other time in history. All right? If you were to do it by like how much money they're taking from us. Oh, man. All right, so when we go to the bagel banking system, let's just give an example of, let's say we're building a house, say, I don't know, we're just going to use a $300,000 house at 6% compounded interest. Let's just understand how this banking system works. So they're going to lend you $300,000, 6% compounded interest, right? So your monthly payment for this house is going to be about, close to $1,800 a month. All right. And you're going to have to work for 30 years or 360 months to pay this off. And the interest on that house, so this is if everything goes well. I mean, there could be problems. You could get a second mortgage, remortgage, whatever. Things always happen. Maybe you need a surgery and now you got to sell your house. Like, who knows what's going to happen to you. And so you're, for a $300,000 home, which a home is a necessity, every citizen has the right to get a home. Back in the 50s, guys, remember this. In the 50s, one man, wife staying at home, running the house, being a good stay-at-home mom, managing the family, doing what women are great at, organizing, managing, the family. One man within 3 to 4 years can pay off a house. That's what it was like in the 50s. Now it takes two people, man and woman, 30 years to pay off a house. Not 3 years, one man working, two people, 30 years. This is what happens in the bagel banking system. All right? So understand that by the time you're done paying off your house, if all goes well, which things probably won't go well, you're going to pay more than double what the house is worth, what you borrowed. So they don't just, you didn't just buy a house, you bought them a house and gave them extra money. That's what they got out of this deal. They didn't do anything, right? They didn't even lend you money. They lent you an imaginary credit, gave you the illusion, and now you're going to go pay them back with real money, right? Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. This is how they got us to go to war as well. So, in a logical Christian system, there's not going to be interest on your house. And if it is, it's going to be very small. So we'll take a look. So in a Christian system, you would borrow what the house is worth. There would be no interest on it. You're going to spend not $1,800 a month. You're going to spend $1,000 a month. You're not going to be doing it for 360 months. You're going to be doing it for, not 30 years, 25 years. You're going to have the house paid off. And guess what? If we apply 6% normal interest, you're going to pay $18,000 extra normal interest over a span of 25 years. Okay? So that's like just over an extra $1,000 a year in interest. That's how it should be, right? That's how it should be. Actually, in Germany, it was much better than that. Every baby you had, the government paid 25% of your house. Wouldn't you believe it? 4 kids, your house was free. What evil people, those Germans.
You call these bagels?
So yeah, again, what just happened here? Did music just start playing? What did I do? Sorry, guys. I had a problem. So we just compared the two systems. Okay, $1,000 a month versus $1,800 a month. 25 years, 30 years, 0 interest. What system do you want to live under? Christian system, bagel system, right?
You call these bagels?
Oy vey. All right. Quote from President James Garfield. So let's talk about him for a second. Now, if you don't know what happened to President Garfield, he opposed the bagel banks, and President Garfield was assassinated and killed. Okay, so let's read what he said that got him killed. Whoever controls the volume of money in our country is absolute master of all industry and commerce. When you realize that the entire system is very easily controlled one way or another by a few powerful men at the top, you will not have to be told how periods of inflation and depression originate. So pretty much what these guys can do is they can flick on a switch, up or down, raise the interest rates. They can collapse the economy, cause the economy to go. It's just a switch. They built it so it's like an on and off switch. And they can just flick the switch, the economy will go to hell. Then they come around and they buy up all the businesses. And then once they've bought up all the businesses, they can now flick the switch in the other direction, and then everything in the economy gets better. But now they own everything. And they can just repeat this every 5, 10, 15 years whenever they feel like doing it, right? Oy vey. Quote from, this is a Prime Minister of Canada. I mean, I think this guy was a lawyer for for the Rockefeller family too. He was an advisor for the Rockefeller. So just because he has a nice quote, I'm not sure if he was a good Prime Minister or not. Once a nation parts with the control of its currency and credit, it matters not who makes that nation's laws. Usury, once in control, will wreck any nation. Until the control of the issue of currency and credit is restored to government and recognized as its most conspicuous and sacred responsibility, all talk of sovereignty of Parliament and of democracy is idle and futile. Federal Reserve Bank has no reserves, and it's not federal. It's a private bank. Okay. Technically, the president and the Senate and the White House have absolute power over it, but who controls them?
You call these bagels?
So even though the Federal Reserve is a private bank, by law, the U.S. government still has authority over it. But as long as the politicians are puppets, it's kind of irrelevant, right? Right. So just because this prime minister said something really good, I mean, he didn't get killed. He's not like President Garfield. President Garfield was the real deal, and that's why he died. So let's keep going. So let's just talk about possible solution. Okay, just in the field of finance, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just look at an example, and we're just gonna take 10 million people. Okay, this is 2.7% of the U.S. Canada population. Okay, and we're just gonna use my region, Quebec, as an example. And I'm gonna round up the number. I think Quebec is more like 8 million people or something. But we're just gonna pretend, for argument's sake, that it's 10. Okay, so we're gonna look at what if we donate every month. Okay, $1 per every person. We have to sacrifice, every one of us, $1 every month. Okay, so I have a family of 5, so every month my family is going to sacrifice $1 per people in the household. So I'm going to sacrifice $5. So, oh man, I'm so sorry, guys. So yeah, so it's about $10 million a month, and that's going to be. Now, okay, if we were doing $10, right? Let's just pretend $10 a month. We've got $100 million per month, right? So now the number jumps up quite a bit. Now we have $100 million a month. If we all just sacrifice $10 a month and put it towards something, let's just do $1 for now, though. Okay. $1 is maybe, I mean, a Snickers bar now is probably more than $1. Maybe $1 US, right? In Canada, it's definitely more. It's $1.50, close to $2 now, I think. Guys, these candy bars were like 50 cents when I was a kid, right? So let's just pretend, though, it's $1. Can you sacrifice a chocolate bar a month? If you're a smoker, can you sacrifice 4 cigarettes a month? Well, I guess it depends. This is U.S. cigarette prices. Can you sacrifice 4 cigarettes a month? Right? Just smoke 4 less cigarettes a month. Donate those. Can you sacrifice 11 sticks of gum a month? Can you sacrifice half a McDonald's hamburger? Can you do it? All right. Well, let's see what we can do with 2.7% of the U.S. population sacrificing one of these a month. All right. So, if we're all donating $1 per month, we've got $10 million per month. We've got $120 million per year. Now, we're not going to sell these houses with any interest. Okay, now obviously there's going to probably be some profit gained. A big reason why houses are so expensive, guys, I want you to understand this, it's getting the permits. The corruption inside the government is so terrible right now, it's housing permits that are really expensive, okay? And then also like house taxes and stuff like that, okay? It's just corruption across the board. So let's just pretend, okay, we're selling the houses for $300,000. Maybe they cost us $250,000. It depends on the permits. It depends on the corruption in the government, right? So there's a lot of factors. This is just for argument's sake. Let's just kind of look at this. All right, so in 1 year, we're going to be able to build about 400 houses per year, okay, with this $1 donation. So we've now provided 400 families homes. They're not paying any interest on it. Okay, but they're going to make those monthly payments, and we're going to collect that money back. Okay, but at the same time, we're still running, that $1 a month donations. Everyone, or $1 a month tax, let's say, house tax. Okay, but then the next year, so now it's going to compound. Let's use the bagels. Let's use their...
You call these bagels?
Compounding strategy in a positive way. So now this is going to compound. So the next year, we still have that 120 million coming in, but now we also have that income from the 400 houses that we built the year before. So this year, because of that extra income, we're actually able to build another 16 houses. So we didn't build just the 400 from before, we built another 400, plus we built 16 additional ones from the monthly payments that were coming in. Okay, and then when you get to year 3, it's just going to grow exponentially. Well, now we're building 432 houses a month, but we have a total of 1,248 houses now, right? So now, understand, we've just rescued a bunch of families from the bagel banks. That interest is no longer going to our enemies. Not only are we saving our people this money, but we've prevented that money from going into the hands of our enemies. Now, if we were to go into the future 30 years, all right, so we've now built, we're now building 1,247 houses per year. We're not building 400 now, we're building more than 3 times that per year. We've built about a total of 22,433 homes. Okay, so we've now provided mortgage-free homes for about 22,500 families, let's say. And now we've got a monthly, they're paying these houses back. So it's not like we built them, we've sold them to them, but they're paying them back. So we now have that dollar donation still coming in, but we now have this income where the money's still coming back to us, so we can now keep going. And the point is, we have now stopped our enemies from over $7 billion with $1 a month donation in that 30-year span. We've kept this $7 billion in our circle, and we've prevented it from going into their circle. All right, this is with $1 a month. 10 million people, my province, small sacrifice. Can you sacrifice 4 cigarettes? Can you sacrifice a couple sticks of gum? Can you sacrifice half a McDonald's burger? No, you probably can't. Right? Can you do it? Most people, let me tell you, they got their money for beer, they got their money for their weed. They got their money for their munchies and all that crap. Most people will not sacrifice a Snickers bar a month to start a mortgage-free housing project. So you've prevented your enemies from stealing about 7.8 billion from you. So now they don't have this to use against you. You have it now in your circle. All right, now let's do $10 per month. Just times everything by 10, right? So you now need to sacrifice 8 Snickers bars a month. You need to sacrifice a pack and a half of cigarettes a month, 7 packs of gum, and 5 McDonald's burgers. Now, if you were to do that, you've prevented your enemies from stealing $78 billion in interest. Now, understand the dangers of interest. Money is supposed to represent goods and services. Okay, they're supposed to represent resources and labor. When you have the bagel banking system,
You call these bagels?
that interest is being added into our economy, but no goods and services were applied, were added. So what happens to our money now when we have to now print more money when no goods and services have been added? The money becomes devalued. Now that chocolate bar isn't 50 cents, it's $2 today. Okay? I used to be able to go to McDonald's back in Canada when I was a 10, 11-year-old kid. Me and my friends would go to McDonald's with a $5 Canadian dollar, like Canadian dollars aren't like US dollars. They're lower in value. I would go to McDonald's with a $5 bill and order a Big Mac combo, fries, Coke, whatever, Big Mac, and I would get change back for $5. I'm pretty sure McDonald's now is like $15 or something, right? I don't know. I haven't been to McDonald's and I can't even remember, a long time ago, especially like McDonald's in Canada. So, but from what I heard from people, they're spending like close to $20 on a meal. Back when I was a 10, 11-year-old kid, back in like say the mid 90s, towards the 2000s, I'd pay $5 and get change back. So with a $10, if we were to sacrifice $10 a month to a mortgage-free housing project, we've now prevented our enemies. We've robbed them of this $78 billion that they're now going to use against us. We've now robbed them of this interest that destroys the value of our dollar, because this interest is not adding anything to our economy. All right? It's devaluing our dollars. All right, so can we do this? Can we sacrifice? Now, again, the problem we're going to have, everyone's going to fight over leadership. I saw this every single time, every single group I was in. And don't blame me. I was never allowed to be a leader. I was not. I was banned. My idea, no, I'm half bagel. Never hid that, never lied about it. I'm half monster. And because I'm half monster, and because I was honest about it, I was always restricted in every party, every group that I was in that was National Socialist, because of my ethnicity, because of who my father was. So I was banned from any leadership position, anything like that, and I could just sit there and be a worker, and I was okay with that. You guys can, I'll just be a foot soldier. I'm happy with that. I'm just happy to be on the team. Happy you guys, let me in. But I'm just watching these idiots fight over leadership. These are the last guys you want ruling over you. They're no different.
You call these bagels?
They're no different than the bagels. If anything, they don't hate the bagels. They're jealous and want to be the bagels. They want the power. And let me tell you, you give these people the power, they will enslave you the same way. Okay? You need leaders who don't care about money. They have a goal. This is personal for them. And you're going to start to see this rise up in the generations to come. The next generations have been so afflicted by these psychopaths in power that it's not going to be about money. It's going to be about justice. It's going to be about vengeance. You're not going to be able to bribe a lot of these younger people growing up now because of what these people did to them. It's not about money. With me, I have a personal score to settle. The reason I do what I'm doing, this is personal for me. I'm at war with certain people. I am driven. I want revenge. I want justice. And you can't corrupt me. You can't. Because there's no price. There's no amount of money you could pay me to stop me. Because this is personal for me. And now they've bred an entire generation. It's like these young guys in Iraq. All these young orphans we left in Iraq. All these fatherless children whose families were blown up. Who had nothing to live for. You think
You call these bagels?
You think these people are going to be able to be bribed after you blew up their brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and grandparents? And do you think you're going to be able to just go and bribe some of these Iraqis and Afghanis and Syrians and Libyans? And you think you're going to be able to bribe some of these Afghan and Iraq veterans who now know the truth? You've created an army of people who now have a mission, and there is no amount of money you can pay these people. They want your blood. That's what they want. All right? So, enjoy, right? This is called the wrath of God, and it's about to do a full circle on you. That's why all these politicians need all these bodyguards. You gotta feel protected, oy vey. So, anyways, this is just a very simple example of sacrificing $1 a month, $10 a month, pack of cigarettes a month. Can you do it? Can you do that for other people? Hey, you might not get a house. You might not get one. You might not be high enough on the list. Eventually, you'll probably get a house. Maybe, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we mortgage-free, monthly tax? You could do this if you're a mayor of a city. You could start this project. You could just get people together and do it. I wanted to do this, right? But no one's gonna trust a half bagel, right? Oy vey. So, understand to cut off their supply. What are they doing with your money? Oh, that's $78 billion. That's just in houses for 2.7% of the population. Do the whole population. That's what they're taking from us. Imagine that number. That's just with mortgages. That's not car payments, car loans, credit cards, business loans. If you were to take the entirety of their insurance, oh my God. This is just 2.7% on housing. Imagine if we were to take every part of their corrupt system and just start dismantling it and start doing things for ourselves. They'd be, and then what can we do with that money? Well, let's play Monopoly. Let's buy back our power. Let's buy back our power, and then we nationalize it. Okay, so we're gonna now take this money that we saved, stop these bagels from getting. Let's buy our farms back. And then let's sell it to the farmers. Let's nationalize our farms, give them back to the farmers, get them producing healthy food again, boycott the food in the stores. Let's buy back our power and energy, nationalize it. So it's not about necessarily making profit. It's about paying the workers high salaries for the job that they're doing, make them want to come to work every day. And then it's about not monopolizing and enslaving the people. It's about now let's sell them the energy for what the energy really costs. Okay, so now we've bought back our energy company. Let's buy back our alcohol companies, nationalize it, give it back to the people, give it back to the workers, and sell the alcohol for a fair price. In Canada, you're spending like $20 for a not so good bottle of wine, and most of that money is government tax, right? A bottle of wine shouldn't cost $20, okay? Like, you should be able to buy normal table wine for $4 to $5, so, oy vey. So anyways, so now they're going to take this money, all this interest money that they've stolen from you, they're going to now put it into the courts, oy vey, put it into the schools, the hospitals, the police. They're going to bribe your politicians. They're going to buy up your newspapers. Then this is what they're doing. right? Anyways, all right. Oh man, this is already way too long. I'm going to try to really just get through the next stuff. Learn from your enemies. Punic Wars. I'm going to try to finish this in the next 15 minutes, guys. Okay, so looking at the Punic Wars. If you don't know about the Punic Wars, so they're one of my favorite topics. It's pretty much the Roman Empire was destroyed. It's like today, the American Empire is destroyed. It's game over for us, guys. We're not going to be able to survive. Yeah, we stand no chance, just like the Romans stood no chance, right? But the Romans persevered. How did the Romans win? So let's talk about the Punic Wars really quickly. And we're talking about the first Punic Wars. And so pretty much you have Carthage. Let's just actually draw a map if you guys don't know. The Carthaginian Empire was actually founded by Canaanites and Israelites. So this blue region, Carthage is a Hebrew word, Kiryah Hadash, Carthage. It means the new town, the new borough, the new place in Hebrew. So that's a Hebrew word. This island here called Sardinia, that's also a Hebrew word. It means the rulers of Dan. The Danites were seafaring conquerors, and this island is named after the tribe of Dan. Sardinia, it means the chiefs, the rulers, the captains of Dan. The Balearic Islands, Baal was the name of the Israelite god, the foreign Israelite god, the god that they were not supposed to worship. Iberian, this apparently comes from the word Hebrew, Iberia, and it is apparently because the original language during the time of the Carthaginians spoke a slang Hebrew. Punic is based off Hebrew. I mean, it's not 100% Hebrew. It'd be like probably Old English, like old English, like Canterbury Tales English compared to English today. So, I mean, you wouldn't be able to understand everything. All right, so this is the Carthaginians versus the Romans. And so understand that the Romans are fighting Semitic bastard Israelites. That's who the Carthaginians were. They're the northern tribes of Israel mixed with the Canaanites from Tyre, Sidon. And the Bible is clear on this. Okay, clear, 100% clear. Down to the point where Israel and the Canaanites had the same navy. Okay, they shared cities. The queen of Israel was from Canaan. She was a Canaanite. She was from Tyre, Sidon, Jezebel. All right, so pretty much the Carthaginians had the dominating navy. The Carthaginians didn't even really need an army because it was naval warfare. And the Carthaginians had ships called kinkaremes. They were 5-rowed rowboats, like rams. They would just ram into the Roman ships. The Romans used triremes, 3. They had 3 groups of rowers. The Carthaginians had 5. So pretty much the Romans would just get slaughtered, just get destroyed. The Carthaginians would just smash into their ships like it was nothing. Way more power, way better ships. And then the Romans got really lucky. The Romans were able to get their hands on a wounded kinkareme. And when the Romans started taking the Carthaginian ship apart, they want to reverse engineer it. Wouldn't you know it? Written on every Carthaginian boat piece on the kinkareme were instructions and part numbers and how to assemble the ships. Okay? So the Carthaginians had developed a mass production, like a factory line to mass produce their ships in parts, and they could just ship parts across their empires. They could ship assembly kits across the empire, their little empire, and people could just assemble the ships wherever they want. It was like an IKEA back in the day. So prefabricated boats, ships, right? So the Romans now reverse engineered their ships. They were able to duplicate them. The Romans were just making them out of cheaper wood. They knew that the boats would only last like maybe a year or two. Romans didn't care. They weren't building these ships for long-term use. They understood they're for war, duplicated their ships. But then the Romans got smart, and they added something onto the ships. So now what they've done is they understood, okay, we're weak on the sea. Now we've copied their ships. But then they added something to the ship called a corvus, which means the raven or the crow, this beak-shaped thing here. And the Romans understood, okay, well, we're strong on land. We're fighters on land. We're land fighters. These guys are strong on the sea. Okay, this is where we're weak. This is where they're strong. How do we change the battle? So the Romans got smart, and this is where I would say, like, true Marines were born. Okay, Marines are like, like the Marine Corps. They're technically not soldiers. They'll say we're sailors, right? Because they're soldiers that live on a boat. They're soldiers who live on the sea. And the Romans now put, Roman Marines, trained Roman soldiers are now on the ship. And when the ships would collide, so if the Carthaginian ship ran into the Roman ship, the corvus would fall, it would form a bridge, and the two ships' fates were now bound together. The Roman Marines would jump off the Roman ship, jump onto the Carthaginian ship, and the Carthaginian ships weren't filled with soldiers. They were filled with slave rowers. All right? So the Romans were pretty much able to take naval warfare and transform it into land warfare. So they're now using their enemies' tricks against them, and then using their own Roman innovations to kind of, solidify, sweeten the deal. All right? So learn from your enemies. That's going to be the moral of the Punic War. Okay? And when all seems hopeless, it's not. All right? So that's the first Punic War with the corvus and the ships and all that stuff. This is now the second Punic War. We're now into the future. Okay? The first Punic War ended in, I think, 241 BC. So now we're coming to 218 BC. And we're going to have arguably the two greatest generals from ancient history. I mean, obviously Caesar. Okay, Julius Caesar, in my opinion, is the greatest. Like, he's not really a general. He's Caesar. He doesn't really count. These are generals fighting for their little empire. He's Caesar. I mean, he's doing his own thing. He betrayed he turned on the Roman Republic and he became Caesar. I mean, I love Julius Caesar. He's one of my most favorite guys in all of history. I just have so much respect for what that guy did. The reforms he made with the army, how he fought, how he planned, how he strategized, what he did. I mean, you can say a lot of bad things about the guy. But overall, the guy was just... There was no one in ancient history like Julius Caesar. Maybe Philip II of Macedon. They would be close. All right, so you have Hannibal Barca, and again, we talked about this in some other videos. This is a perfect Hebrew name, Hananiah and Baal. In Hebrew, this would translate as grace of the Lord or the Lord's mercy, and then his last name would mean lightning in Hebrew, and that's that's pretty much what Hannibal was. And then we have Scipio Africanus. And we're just going to look at an example of a battle. Okay. Okay, so this is now the map of the Second Punic War. And you can see that Carthage has really expanded in Spain. And they lost Sardinia, they lost Sicily, they lost Corsica, they lost all their islands here. Rome took them over, right? But now they're expanding huge in Spain. Hannibal's father and Hannibal were very busy becoming super powerful here. And now it's not going to be a naval battle because they're going to march from Spain into Rome. They're going to cross Hannibal crossing the Alps, all that great stuff. And Hannibal's now going to change warfare. Okay? And just one quick example, we talked about this in another video, but the Battle of Cannae. All right, here's an example where the Romans had amassed an army, and the Romans have just lost an army, it got slaughtered. They raise another army, it gets slaughtered. They raise another army, it gets slaughtered. So now the Romans are like, all right, we're done. We're going to raise the biggest army the world, that Rome has ever seen, that anyone in Western Europe has ever seen, and they raise an army of 80,000 soldiers. 80,000 soldiers. Think about that number, okay? In the ancient world, 80,000 men are now, Hannibal's completely outnumbered. Completely outnumbered. I think it's almost 2-1, okay? Well, Hannibal's not stupid. Hannibal's the kind of guy, he understands warfare. He understands, I want the sun behind me. I want the sun in my enemy's eyes. I'm going to make sure I'm positioned here. I'm going to make sure that the wind is blowing towards my enemies, because we're going to kick up as much sand as possible and let the wind carry the sand into the enemy's face. Hannibal thought of every little detail before he went to war. Okay? And the Romans aren't like him. And Hannibal's been fighting wars. His father trained him how to do this. Anyways, Hannibal's an absolute genius. And with every loss that the Romans are experiencing, I want you guys to think about you. Think about, we've done nothing but lose for the last 100 years with these psychopaths in power. We need to start learning from our defeats, okay? And that's what the Romans are doing right now. Hannibal is training the Romans how to defeat him. As long as you're listening to your enemy and paying attention and learning from your losses. That's it. There's no shame in defeat as long as the soul lives on to fight another day. But you have to learn from your losses. All right? So the Battle of Cannae. Now what Hannibal did is Hannibal knew one thing. He knew he had the way superior cavalry. He had the great Numidian cavalry plus his mercenary cavalry, Carthaginian cavalry. He knew his cavalry can beat the Romans, and that's very important because generally whoever has the cavalry is going to win the battle, at least have the strategic edge. Obviously the Greeks, if you study like the Greek-Persian wars, you know, the Greek soldiers, obviously the great Greek hoplites did very well against the Persians, but for the most part you need the cavalry. And what did Alexander the Great do? Alexander the Great incorporated horses into Greek warfare. Greeks were not horse riders. Macedonians brought that in, and it was by combining the best of Persia with the best of Greece that Alexander was able to take the war to the Persians and smash them to pieces. Okay? So what Hannibal's going to do is Hannibal's going to lure this giant army into the center, into his army, where he's made this like crescent shaped with his men. Okay? And these are his veteran soldiers. Okay? And what's going to happen is his cavalry is going to go full tilt and chase off the Roman cavalry and defeat them really quickly. This whole strategy depended on his cavalry. As fast as you can, you need to take out the Romans and you need to rest for 5 minutes, get back over here. So he knew his cavalry was going to beat the Romans, and they did. And then they had to rest for a little bit, and his infantry's job was to hold the line, and he had trained his veterans to start retreating and luring the Romans deeper and deeper and deeper and making the Romans think that they're winning the battle. Okay, so now they're pushing, and before the Romans know it, Hannibal's cavalry is now returned. The Romans have pushed back into the crescent. The crescent has now done a full invert, and now Hannibal is going to deliver the final blow to the Romans. And you can look at Lake Trasimene. You could look at every single one of Hannibal's victories, and they're almost all genius like this. But I want you to understand why this battle is the most important. And Rome had already lost a bunch of armies. Hannibal keeps annihilating one Roman army after another, after another, after another. They're just like us. The Romans are just like us. We just can't win. We lost in Vietnam. We lost in Iraq. We lost in Afghanistan. I think we lost World War II. At least fought for the wrong side.
Whoa! You call these big?
Anyways, so now what's going to happen is 80,000 Roman men gone in one day. I want you to think about that. Now it's 60 to 80,000. We're just gonna go with the high number. 80,000 men in a day. More Romans died in a single day than Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan combined. That is what Rome lost in one day, and they'd already lost a bunch of armies in the years before. And they thought if we make this giant army, this insane army, there's no way Hannibal's going to be able to defeat it. In one day, the Romans lost more than we lost in Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan combined. In the ancient world, you have to think about how many people that is. This is the biggest humiliation. Certainly, it's over for Rome. Certainly, Rome will surrender. Well, so how did the Romans win after losing every battle? Learn from your enemies. Your enemies are always teaching you how to beat them. All right? So how did Rome defeat Hannibal? Roman unity. That's what the word fascism means, by the way. The word fascism, to break it down into its pure form, to bundle together, to unite, to come together as one. You know, what did Robert Baratheon say? What's the stronger number, 5 or 1? Right? And the queen says, well, 5. 5's obviously the stronger number. And he holds up his hand, and he says, 5, 1. Right? What's stronger? This is us right now, divided into all our camps, fighting each other. You know, we can't work together. Oh, he's a Catholic. Oh, he's a Protestant. He's an Orthodox. He's a pagan. He's an atheist. Blah, 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 blah. You know, they have us all at each other's throat because they want 5. They don't want us as 1. Roman unity was number 1. Roman organization. They were organized. As fast as an army was destroyed was as fast as an army was put together. Okay? Organization, administration. Okay? Roman determination. They had a goal. They had a purpose. This is now personal. Okay? They've lost family members. Okay? Scipio lost his father or his uncle. They were all killed in battle. Scipio, both generals were undefeated. Scipio was a young man. He fought in the majority of battles against Hannibal. And he was there at Cannae. He was there. He survived all this stuff. And the whole time, Scipio is learning. He's learning. He's studying. He's learning from the defeats. Okay? They're learning from their defeats. And that's what Scipio was doing. And then what Scipio did at the end, he was the youngest Roman to be given an army by the Senate. And he was made general. And he took the war to Spain and became an undefeated general. And by the time you get to the final battle, the Battle of Zama, you have the two generals toe-to-toe, undefeated generals. Scipio is now like a student of Hannibal. And the folklore legend behind the story was that the two met before the battle. The translators spoke, and Hannibal said to Scipio, "Don't forget that I created you. I made you." You know? And Scipio said back to Hannibal, "No, you didn't create me. You caused me to be. And that's not the same thing. And now I will defeat you." And he did. And Hannibal lost. And Rome survived. Because they were united, they were organized, they had good administration, they were determined, and they learned from their enemies. They learned from their defeats. All right? And that's what we have to do. It's for me, it's that simple. But above all that, this is through the eyes of man. Through the eyes of God, this can only work if you establish self-discipline, good morality, and whether you believe in God or not, or Jesus or not, you at least need to believe in these principles. Love each other as you would yourself. Do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself. Don't sleep with married women. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't cheat. Don't murder. We have to return to this. This is the only way we hope to survive as a people and a country. Okay? So, this is just an example I wanted to give of learning of all is hopeless. You know, the world's, it's done, and yet somehow Rome survived. So I'm speaking to us, America. It's Europe. It's not hopeless. It's not. Okay? It seems like it, but we just gotta get our act together. All right? Oh, this is hilarious. So this is how it ended. It ended, you know, you could say delenda est Cathargo or Cathargo delenda est. You know, Carthage must be destroyed, right? So, and it was, and you see the Romans eventually, after the Third Punic War, there was a third war, and Rome salted Carthage. The Carthaginian Empire ceased to exist. Almost everything about them was erased from history, and make no mistake, these were part of the lost tribes of Israel. 100%. These are where the lost tribes of Israel were. Okay? All right. History rhyming, so I think we're just going to finish on this. I just want you to understand that during the time of Nero, you know, the bagels...
You call these bagels?
If you know Roman history, if you study Josephus, you study the encyclopedias, you know that the bagels were controlling the Roman Empire. Nero, who the book of Revelation is about, the beast whose number equals 666, he was surrounded by Jewish advisors, Jewish entourages. At the very beginning of the life of Josephus, the very beginning of his book, what does Josephus say? He went to a Jewish actor who was best friends with Nero and his wife. Jewish actor. Josephus needed a favor. Oy vey, I'm going to go to my Jewish friend. He's a Jewish actor. I'm going to go to Hollywood. You know, he's going to talk to my buddy at the White House. Don't worry about it. I got connections. Think about this. This is how Josephus opens up in the life of Josephus. It opens up with Josephus going to his actor Jewish friend, who's best friends with Nero and his wife. Why? Because Nero was obsessed with theater and art. Nero, with his Jewish entourage, his bagel entourage, AI correct that, for the algorithm. And I just posted up some stuff from the Bagel Encyclopedia, and it talks about how in Rome itself, under Nero, the Jewish colony of Trastevere worshipped and worked unmolested. At court, the Jewish dancer, clown Alatorius, the Jewish historian Josephus were in great favor, especially with Nero's notorious wife Pompeia, whom Josephus called a religious woman. It says there's no evidence that she was actually a proselytized Jewess, except the next verses say she was a converted Jewess. Okay, so that's this statement makes no sense. There's actually no evidence that she converted Judaism, but she seemed to have been attracted to Judaism and visited the synagogues out of a fashionable restlessness. So she was always going to Jewish synagogue. Other Roman matrons, following her express wish, however, Nero, who had mortally wounded her in a fit of rage, killed her and his unborn child. Did not have her cremated in the Roman style, but embalmed her and buried her according to the Jewish style. So there's no evidence that she converted to Judaism, but we're not going to bury her as a Roman. We're going to bury her as a Jew, and she went to synagogue all the time, and she was a very religious woman, and she loved the Jews and always helping the Jews, but there's no evidence she converted. Okay. And Alatorius is the friend, and my point is, Nero, you have to understand something about actors, and it used to be like this in our society before. Being an actor was never an honorable position. Being a sports star, hockey players never made money. Football players, baseball players, these were deadbeat, dead-end jobs 100 years ago. Okay? Then they got big and big and big as we became more retarded and stupid. And now these jobs, like the dumbest people in our society, guys who just chase a ball like a dog, these are some of the richest, most powerful people in our society. Okay? Before, these jobs didn't pay anything. Being an actor and an actress didn't pay anything. They were dead-end jobs. They were, why? In ancient Rome, being an actor or, was like a prostitution. And now you have an emperor of Rome who's putting everything into the arts. Nero was a performer. He was a singer. He was a dancer. And the Romans considered this like a great offense. This is so shameful. Our emperor is a prostitute. Okay. Understand that Nero and his entourage, the Jews at his court, believed they could take over the world through art and theater. Understand that after he murdered his pregnant wife, he castrated a young boy named Sporus and turned him into a woman. With Nero, you have the embodiment of everything happening today in our world. You have Nero creating a man into a woman. You have transgenderism. He was lovers with a guy named Otho, Pompeia, his wife's first husband. They were all in their orgies together. You've got massive sexual degeneracy, drunkenness, like these people are on drugs. Art and theater. They believe they can control the people and their minds through art and theater. And it's all being controlled by...
You call these bagels?
When you look at what was going on in Rome back then and you look at what's going on today, guys, it's like no difference. The only difference is back then the temple was being destroyed and today they're trying to rebuild it. It's just kind of a little bit in reverse, right? So history is just kind of rhyming here. So we need to learn from history. We need to learn from our enemies. We need to learn from our defeats. And we need to understand where we're strong. And we're strong in numbers. It doesn't take us $1 a month, $10 a month. You just need to be like the Romans. You need to be organized. You need to have self-discipline. You need to have a goal. You need leaders who aren't corrupt, that cannot be corrupted, because it's not about money. It's not about hookers and blow. It's not about fame and fortune. It's about justice. It's about doing the right thing. It's about your love for God, who is to be worshipped in truth and justice, okay, and in spirit. All right, so I think we're just going to go back to the verse of the day and quote of the day. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Okay, we'll go to the quote of Uncle. We are a people of different religions, but we are one. Which faith conquers the other is not the question. Rather, the question is whether Christianity stands or falls. We tolerate no one in our ranks who attacks the ideas of Christianity. In fact, our movement is Christian. We are filled with a desire for Catholics and Protestants to discover one another in the deep distress of our own people. And guys, if we can't do that, and we're going to let them divide us, can we not agree on the fundamentals? Can we not agree that we need to love each other as we want to be loved? Can we not respect each other's wives and children? I mean, I get it, it's hard. You know, when Catholic people start talking about like some weird miracles that there's no way for any of us to prove, and you know, and you see like some of their traditions just aren't in the Bible, or the Orthodox are doing this, or the Mormons are completely out in left field. You know, the Protestants are just so bent on hating the Catholic Church. It's like, how do you get these Protestants to work with Catholics when their whole doctrine is they believe the whore of Babylon is the Catholic Church, when the Book of Revelation is clear that the whore of Babylon is Jerusalem and the bagels? Guys, if we can't put these differences aside and then learn to start sacrificing $1 a month, $10 a month, I don't know, can you sacrifice 4 cigarettes a month? If we can't learn to sacrifice for each other and to give without expecting anything back, and to actually be responsible leaders and do what we say and lead by example like Caesar did, I don't know. We don't stand a chance. So for me, it's all rooted in coming back to God and fearing God. And it comes from pain, suffering, and hard times, right? So I think I'm going to end it there. I'm going to just kind of scroll through the chat now and see questions. Oh, man. Are you part of a particular denomination? No, my kingdom is not of this world. My king is not of this world. My high priest is not of this world. I'm just on earth for a short period of time. I'm going to die soon, and then I got to go back home, right? And so for me, I don't belong or bow down to any earthly man-made church establishment. I bow down to God alone, and Christ is my king. Hope that answers your question. Your view on apostolic succession, I don't know. Where is that in the Bible? Like, where is it really outlined in the Bible? Like, that we have to follow some hierarchy passed down by the apostles, and then it gets converted into the popes and the bishops and all this stuff, you know. When people who were not baptized by John the Baptist or Jesus started baptizing people on their own, and the apostles pointed that out. Hey, these people, that why are they baptizing? We didn't baptize these people. Did Jesus rebuke them? No, let them do it. Let them go. Doesn't Paul tell us not to be like, oh, well, I was baptized by this guy, and Paul baptized me, and it's like, oh, the Catholic Church, I'm baptized there, and the Orthodox Church, I'm baptized. You know, why are we so divided into all this stuff? You know, that's then just used against us and proxy warfare, and then we just murder each other. Anyways, it's just, for me, it's mental illness. Ecumenical council through the centuries. Yeah, and I think we need to have a new, council. I think Christianity needs a total facelift for the millennium to come. I don't believe that the current version of Christianity is meant for the modern world. I don't believe in some of the books in the Bible. I love people who the Bible's the perfect word of God. It's never been changed. It's like, can you show me one manuscript from the past that matches your Bible today? Seriously, show me one Bible from the past that matches. You know, you're not gonna find it. No, these King James onlyists. Oh, the King James Bible's never been changed, and the King James Bible you're reading from is not the original King James. They removed a bunch of books. They had to change all the grammar. The King James Bible you're reading from was written in the 1800s, not 1611, you know, and books are missing. So the original King James wasn't good enough, and it's a perfect word of God. And it's like, you took the Hebrew Daniel Baumberg translation and then mixed, and they even ripped out verses from the Hebrew version and then put in Septuagint versions. It's a Band-Aid translation. Oh man, and then the Texas Receptus. Oh my God, the King James Bible is a joke. Show me a manuscript. If your King James Bible was never changed, show me a manuscript. There's got to be an ancient manuscript somewhere floating around the world that's half in Hebrew, half in Greek, and oh man. Anyways, so I think the whole Bible needs to be reorganized, reformatted, and stuff like that. Okay, so I see you guys are answering the questions yourselves, going through it. Someone tipped me, someone random, that's actually his name. Someone random has tipped me $20. Love your work, quite refreshing. Authenticity. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I came to my views by always being wrong, and then learning from my mistakes, and then correcting them. Adam Green would never debate you. Yeah, Adam and me are good friends. No, I've never spoken to Adam Green in my life. I've been trying to debate that guy and talk to that guy. At first I wasn't sure what to make of him. Obviously I thought he was controlled opposition right off the go. But, people who saw my original channel, I'm sure they thought everyone thought I was controlled opposition when I came out. So, I mean, it's a normal, and I think it's a very healthy response to believe that this guy speaking is controlled opposition, and then you listen and listen, put them on the controlled opposition list right away, and then let them slowly convince you over time that they're not. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? So, but Adam Green's a total psychopath, narcissist, freak. Like, the guy has no manners, ad hominems. He's just a bad person. I feel really bad for Adam Green. Questions. I don't really see too many. Oy vey. But I wasn't sure with this crowd. Glad Ruben has time to get what he wants to say once. Anonymous, you're hilarious. Can't take any more. Will justice ever happen? Yeah, guys, we have to just hold the line. We have to look. I don't know. Yeah, life can get bad. Like, you know, like I don't even like talking about some of the things I've gone through. Like, if you guys notice, I don't talk about my personal life too much. I don't. Like, I live with a lot of pain, a lot of depression, a lot of sadness and sorrow. It's, you know, some days it's hard for me to wake up, hard for me to take a shower. Like, oh my God, I took a shower today. I'm like, wow, I did really good. You know, oh man, I went to the grocery store. I managed to get that done. I know what that's like, where your body weighs 1,000 pounds and you've got no desire to move forward. But that's the moment you do have to get up and move forward. And you have to keep going. And you have to realize that how you start the race isn't nearly as important as how you finish your race. We're all dead. We're all going to die. You know, how do you choosing to meet your death? That's all that matters in the end. Look, when the game of chess is over, the king and the pawn get thrown into the same box. It doesn't matter if you're a king or if you're a pawn. Okay? You end up in the same box when the game is done. And I'm guilty of this too, you know, don't let the material world get you down. You know, like, I'm not at all where I want to be in my life. I didn't think I'd be the age that I'm at, living in the country that I'm in, doing the things that I'm doing right now. I mean, if you told me when I was 20 years old, hey, you're going to be a Christian and you're going to be defending the Bible, I would have laughed in your face. And then if you added it and said, oh, well, you're going to be defending Uncle and the evilest people in history, and you're going to be like a lawyer for those people, I would have laughed even harder. Do you know what I mean? I never thought in a million years I'd be in this situation. And we can't let the material world get us down, and that, you know, none of my dreams came true. None of them. And I don't think they ever will. 90% of my dreams are not possible at this point in my life. I might have like 10% that maybe they'll come true, and I've made peace that they won't. Guys, there are children being bombed in Gaza right now. There's a war in Ukraine. People were just killed in Germany. Like, guys, our lives can go in a moment. You know, you think it's bad right now. Let me tell you something. I have a cup of tea. Do you know how much worse my life could be right now? I could be without the cup of tea. I have tea. Do you know how amazing that is? Man, it's amazing. Amazing. So, we need to learn to be thankful for the things that we have and not be angry about the things that we don't have. And yeah, you guys, things might get worse. And we have to hold the line. And eventually, you know, the storm will pass. This can't go on forever. It's cyclical. Evil self-destructs. These bagels.
You call these bagels?
They're going to destroy themselves. They always, always do. Let me tell you something about the bagels. Evil is designed in nature to self-destruct. So don't you know, and you have to learn to trust in God, which might be the hardest thing to do, is try to control what you can in your daily life. Do the best that you can, but you have to put your faith and your trust in God, especially when bad things happen. And none of us are getting out alive. So even if, like, we're marked for death, guys, it's okay. It's not okay for the bagels. It's not okay for the Freemasons, or the stonecutters, we should say. Those are the guys you don't want to be. Those are the guys you should feel sorry for. I wouldn't trade places with the Rothschild family, with Benjamin Netanyahu, with Donald Trump. I wouldn't trade places with these jokers or Adam Green for all the gold in the world. I would rather be where I am now. I was living like a slave, making $2 an hour, living on the Ukrainian border 100 miles from the war zone. You know, working in 40-degree heat, doing welding and cement pouring, like, for $2 an hour. Yeah. So things can always get worse too, and like right now, my heart goes out to the kids in Gaza. You know, little children being bombed, and they don't even know why. All right, let me just try to finish right now. Questions. I bet you there's a bunch of questions at the bottom right now. Oh, at least you guys are all chatting. Will this stream be available after? Yeah, this stream will be available after. It'll be all good. Is style... Okay, that's maybe not for me. Jetter asked the question above. Jeter? Jeter. Oh, man. Can someone repost the question? If you can see it. Jeter. So, one. Jetter. Did I already read that question? Where is it? He asked, is Syria the kingdom of Gesher, tribe of Manasseh? Well, I mean, Solomon's kingdom, if you look at, like, the map of Solomon, like, guys, to think that these, you know, that these tribes weren't completely mixed, like, with Moabites. I mean, the Bible's just full of Israelites cross-mixing with Canaanites and Ammonites. I mean, Rehoboam, Solomon's son, the king of Israel, Rehoboam, his mother was an Ammonite. Like, Kingdom of Solomon map. Yeah, guys, like Solomon's kingdom went into Syria. Like, so, and that would have been the tribe of Manasseh, right? So, Solomon's fleet, like Gesher is Manasseh, and Solomon's kingdom extended all the way to Damascus, and that would have been the tribe of Manasseh going in that direction. That was their land going into Syria. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think, like, understand, like, whenever the Greeks are talking about, like, the Phoenicians, and you could be from Syria and you'd be considered a Phoenician. You could be from the, you know, Edom and be considered a Phoenician. You could be from Israel, Canaan, Tyre, Sidon, that whole Levant. It would be like comparing people from Florida to Canadians. You know, understand that also the Israelites were all born in Syria. They are Syrians in the sense that 11 of the sons were from Syria. That's where they grew up. That's where the Israelites were raised. Then they moved, and only Benjamin was born in Israel, or in Canaan at the time, right? So Syria is actually the true birth home If you were to ask the 12 sons of Israel, where's your home? Where are you from? They're going to say, we're from Syria. That's where the Israelites are from. They're from Syria, you know. And then they moved, right? And then they went into Egypt. So I don't know. Yeah, well, Damascus is still Syria, but if you look at the map of Solomon's kingdom went all the way into Syria, right? So, did God want the temple to be built the second time? He takes it away. Yeah, he did want to build the second time. He told them that the land will rest for 70 years. He gave Jeremiah a 70-year prophecy, and from exactly 586, when the temple was destroyed, it was rebuilt. The temple sacrifices started exactly 70 years later. And if you notice, I think it was 490 years the Israelites, from the time, let me do the math. What is it? From the time they entered the land, what was it? There's 490 years, and the 70 years would represent it's 1/7 of 490 years. So God was pretty much getting his Sabbath. He let the land rest for that period, for a 490 period. That 70 represents 1/7, the sabbatical resting time that's required to let the land rest. So God, in a sense, was also following his own law and letting the land rest for this 490-year period. So the temple was destroyed in 586, and then the temple sacrifices started again in 516, right? So exactly 70 years, right? Cyrus the Great freed the Judeans, the tribe of they were still Israelites with the Jews and stuff. So, what are my thoughts on the grope? I'm not a Nick Fuentes says some good stuff, but for me, Nick Fuentes will always be controlled opposition. That's just where I lean. I don't trust the guy. Causes a lot of division, and again, for me, he's a controlled distribution agent. He's a guy that too many people knew the truth about.
You call these bagels?
And now they've got their guy to send everybody to. I mean, the guy gets interviews with Donald Trump and Kanye West. He openly talks about being friends with these high-level politicians. The guy's connected. You know, how can a guy talking about this stuff, Holocaust, denying, how do you talk about this stuff and then get a interview with Donald Trump, even be seen with Donald Trump? Guys, I'm in this world. People don't even want to admit I exist. They bury me. I don't even talk about him. Don't even look at him. He's not here. It's not how it works in this when you're doing this stuff. If the smartest thing they could do is pretend you don't exist. It's like, we were in court one time and we asked the Crown attorney, in Canada is a little bit different than the United States. We don't have the district attorneys and stuff like that. We have the Crown, right? And the Crown, we think the Crown is the Queen of England. We think that the Queen of England or the King of England or whoever it is, or King of Britain, Queen of Britain, the Commonwealth, we think we're fighting them in court because the person we're fighting is called the Crown attorney. The Crown. We're fighting the monarchy. That's who's charging us. Well, we asked them in court, Your Honor, do you and the Crown Attorney, do you represent Queen Elizabeth II of the House of Windsor? Is that who you're representing here today? Do you know what they did when we asked? Because we want to know who the Crown is. Who's charging us right now? Who are we paying? The judge and the lawyer ignored the question. We asked again, who do you serve? Do you serve Queen Elizabeth II of the House of Windsor, yes or no? Neither one of them acknowledged the question. That's all, and that's what they do. If you're the real deal, if they can pretend you don't exist and give you and cut off any chance for you to have any airtime, any publicity, that is the best thing for them to do. Okay? And so guys like Nick Fuentes gets push, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, these guys, I don't know. I've been in the world. The only guy I really trust, Alfred Schaefer, 100%. 100%. Alfred, I shouldn't even say that name. Uncle Alfred, pfft. Ursula H, trusted her with my life. Alfred's sister, trusted her with my life. I'm trying to think of other people. There's a guy, Jan Lamprecht. I mean, he hates my guts, but I really like Jan. I mean, he said he doesn't like me, but I like him. I think he's the real deal. I mean, he's a pagan nationalist, and that's where we don't agree, but I believe that Jan was the real deal. So, I mean, like, Red Ice Media, no, wouldn't go there. Dustin Nemos, I tried to debate that guy. He's a psychopath narcissist. I mean, you can read our discussions and stuff. I won't debate anybody unless you have this many subscribers. You're not worth my time. And just the way he talked to us, it was just so rude, and he was just really in love with himself. I mean, guys can read it's on my Twitter feed and stuff. I think it's somewhere there. I mean, you can read it all for yourselves. I mean, I was kind of aggressive. I was kind of being a douchebag. I wasn't perfect either. Each country is made up of at least 2 Israelite tribes. I mean, I don't get too into that. Oh, well, this country uses this flag, and therefore they're this tribe. I don't believe it's possible to know which tribes went where and how mixed it was or anything like that. I don't. You could look at the old coat of arms, but I mean, you can't prove conclusively that that's why I mean, the Greeks use similar images too and stuff. I mean, it's not conclusive. I mean, it's interesting, it's cool, and you can look at it, but is it a matter of fact? Is it, 100% provable? I don't think so. Man, it's 2 hours and 36 minutes. I was trying to do this in an hour and a half. I'm really sorry, guys. Sorry to make these long streams. Is there any truth to specific countries in Europe being Israelite? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't buy it. I don't buy that these guys can pinpoint exactly where every tribe went. Because you also don't know how mixed the tribes were. You don't know. You just don't know. So I think when you go too deep into that with not enough conclusive evidence, it kills the truths we do have, right? You're taking it too far where it can't be proven. So, I don't want to get your account removed, but what is the final conclusion for revisionists? What actually happened? What was the actual... Oh, yeah, you can message me on Telegram and we could talk there. I'm not answering that question here. Alright, I think I'm going to call it quits. Is that cool with everyone? I have to go to bed. It's... What time is it here? It's almost 3 in the morning. It's 2:40. I got to work tomorrow. Yeah, you should be in bed too, Tarnished. Why only 5 likes? Everybody liked this. There's 34 people watching. I saw 10 likes. Guys, you can't trust the YouTube crap. They just completely mess with everything. Alright, guys. I'm calling it quits. Anyways, I guess this is the last stream we're going to do before Christmas. And yeah, dude, just message me on Telegram. And we could talk about whatever you want on Telegram. Alright, guys, so wish you guys really happy and Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And yes, it's a pagan holiday, it's a pagan festival, but I look at it like, teach what Christmas is. Don't lie. It is pagan. It is polytheistic. It comes from the previous European traditions. But I always look at it like it shows Christ's victory over the polytheistic world. That now these festivals have been replaced with Christ. Just know the truth, though. Know that this has nothing to do with Christianity. But don't be like, oh, just know, yeah, Christmas trees are pagan. This is polytheistic crap. It's not. There's nothing to do with us as Christians. But I don't have a Christmas tree. I'm not going to put one up. But if my girlfriend wanted me to put one up, if I had a girlfriend, my old girlfriend back in Canada, she'd be like, I want a Christmas tree. I had no problem. I didn't put one up. I didn't have one in my apartment. I put one up in hers. She liked it. I told her what it meant. It has nothing to do with the Bible. It's symbols of fertility and da 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 da. It's a good way for you to educate people, not cause a war. Don't cause a fight. Don't be that Christian guy that ruins everything. It's a great time to give a history lesson in a very peaceful, calm way. Open people's eyes. Explain to them that this is actually kind of not, God doesn't necessarily forbid it, but I mean, God said there's nothing good in it, So, that's all. Don't be that Christian guy that's going to ruin everything. You can be smart, be, it's smart when you want to get your point across. It's a great time to teach people history. What does this hot festival really mean? Where does it come from? Look, Jesus would have been born in the summertime. I think Jesus was born on 9/11. To be honest, I believe Jesus was born on 9/11. He was definitely born closer to Yom Kippur, 100%. You could tell by his ministry time. You can count back, 3.5 years, and that it was nighttime when Jesus was born, and the animals were still outside up in the mountains, so it wasn't winter yet. So there's a lot of clues that Jesus was born at Yom Kippur. It's not born in December 25th. Not really, Passover and stuff like this. This is kind of, guys, don't get too. Even the Apostle Paul tells us, I think in Colossians, that we shouldn't be so judgmental when it comes to, when we keep Sabbaths and when, people want to worship on Sunday, people want to worship on Saturday. We shouldn't, we really have to look at the quote on the screen. We are a people of different religions, but we are one. Which faith conquers the other is not the question. Rather, the question is whether Christianity stands or falls. Okay, we tolerate no one in our ranks who attacks the ideas of Christianity. In fact, our movement is Christian. We are filled with a desire for Catholics and Protestants to discover one another in the deep distress of our own people. So don't cause a war, even with the pagans, right? Why do you believe Jesus was born on 9/11? Oh, it had to do with the star alignments. Like, the stars are kind of like a calculator, and if you were to go backwards and rotate the stars backwards, there was this astronomer that showed that something crazy happened on 9/11. Like, it would have been about 9/11. There was some weird star alignment in Jerusalem where it was there was a click, the stars formed once in a not lifetime, but a once ever pattern that happened to take place on 9/11. I don't know. I'm not an astronomer. I can't prove it happened. I know that he would have been born around Yom Kippur. He would have been closer to the summertime. And then when this astronomer showed and dialed the stars backwards, you could, with the technology we have today, you can do that. And this guy concluded that he would have been born on 9/11 just based upon the star alignments back then. Yeah, I've been sick for 2 weeks now, and I haven't been able to rest between my job, and then there was a dog. I've been taking care of another dog. This dog got, I don't know if I can maybe there was like a dog that man, people are real jerks. I don't know if I have time to... Oops. Anyways, I have a video of it. There's a dog that I've been taking care of. Someone smashed this dog's head, and the dog's head was completely cracked and blood, and even my jacket's all still covered in dog blood. So I've been taking care of this dog. I had to take him to the vet every day and deal with my dog, deal with work. So I was sick. That's why I didn't do a stream last week. And we also had a death in the group. One of our group members, a really young kid, his name was Wesley in the chat. I'm not going to give his real name. And he was very active, a kid that messaged me all the time. I spent he disappeared for a month. He disappeared after Halloween, and we didn't hear from him, and we just thought he was taking a break. And so one of our members, a good member, a guy that I was fairly good. I was definitely closer with him than most people. He messaged me all the time. Came to me with his problems. And I spent a lot of time last week just going through all the messages he left me. And when an internet friend dies, you don't really know. He disappears, and you have no idea that he's dead. And so between dealing with this dog, learning that our friend passed away, I was sick as hell. I'm just like, there's a lot of drama going on in the group and stuff, so we didn't have a stream last week. So, guys, Wesley, if you guys are familiar with Wesley in the group, Wesley has passed away, 23 years old. So... I'm not going to talk about what happened or how it happened or anything like that. But, so we did lose a very, very, very kid that I thought had a lot of potential. And I'm really, I don't want to say disappointed. I mean, the kid was going through a lot. And I just, you kind of wish, you just, obviously you wonder and stuff, maybe I should have called him more, maybe I should have talked to him more, maybe like one phone call could have changed everything, and you think like this, and you wonder. So, anyways, we need to be thankful for the time we were given and whatever time we have left. You don't know when your day's coming. So, dude, why would you tell everybody? Come on. Anyways, I'm ending the stream here. Thank you guys all for watching. Have a Merry Christmas, and I'll